Good morning, everybody. We're going to get this party started here. So, happy Thursday, and welcome to the City Council Committee of Public Property and Public Works. Clerk, would you please read the title of the bills?
Bill number 181044, authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property on behalf of the City of Philadelphia to convey to Philadelphia Authority for Industrial Development all or a portion of a parcel or parcels of land in and about the area bounded by 46th Street, Market Street, 48th Street, and Haverford Ave for further conveyance. And Bill number 181045, authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property on behalf of the City of Philadelphia to execute a release from a restriction contained in an agreement dated April 10th, 1951, related to all or a portion of a parcel or parcels of land in and about the area bounded by Pennypack Park, Ryan Avenue, and Rowland Avenue, conveyed by the City to the School District of Philadelphia in 1951, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you. I want to recognize that we have a quorum that is established, and to my left is Councilwoman Gim, Councilman Squilla, Councilman Greenlee, and to my right, Councilman Dom. I also like to recognize we were also joined in the chambers by Councilwoman Parker and Councilwoman Janie Blackwell. All right, so first, we're going to, if anybody here for the administration who wishes to speak on bill numbers 181044 and 181045, but before you start and state your name for the record, I'd like to recognize Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you very much. This has been a hard time coming, and we're very happy to be here. But we would also like to add that in this last week, we've been dealing with Kirkbride. Many of you know Kirkbride at 48th and Haverford, and we've worked out those issues, and we want to say that those involved, Ironstone and Kirkbride, because we've had city involvement with one of our leaders like Eva Gladstein, have said they will work with them, because you can't, if we want to be moral people, we can't open something very big and then hurt something smaller that's next door. So we want certainly that verbal commitment as well. And even if we pass this out today, we want a report to the committee and to me on all the inclusion stuff, so we see that before we formally vote on it. We want to see all of that. And I know and we want a commitment as well that we have community meetings, because as it is now, and everybody knows that the police aren't coming, but nobody knows exactly what is coming and what that means. And that means that the community doesn't know as well. So we want in writing from folks, like I said, we want to see the inclusion stuff, and we also want in writing that we will have meetings with the community. I'm happy to determine who that is, the community groups in the area. But we want commitments that we will have inclusion meetings with the community groups, and that the commitment to Kirkbride will remain. And we would like to see those in writing to you and to me before the final vote next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. You may state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Sure. Good morning, Chairman Heenan and members of the Committee on Public Property and Public Works. My name is Bridget Collins Greenwald, and I am the Commissioner of the Department of Public Property. With me today is Ann Fedulin, Director of Planning and Development for the City. I'm here today to testify in support of Bill number 181044, an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property on behalf of the City of Philadelphia to convey to the Philadelphia Authority for Industrial development, some or all of the parcels of land located in and about the area bounded by 46th Street, Market Street, 48th Street, and Haverford Avenue, for further conveyance under certain terms and conditions. Conveyance of the property to Paid shall be conditioned upon a commitment by Paid to require an equal opportunity plan in accordance with Section 17-1602 of the Philadelphia Code upon further conveyance. We are also aware of the concerns raised by Kirkbride and will make every effort to help work through any such concerns as this project moves forward. We have spoken with Kirkbride about this and understand that this will ease their concerns. The city conducted a competitive process to convey this parcel of land. Upon completion of this competitive process, the committee has recommended conveyance to the Public Health Management Corporation, Ironstone Real Estate Partners, Michael Pearson, and Sam Patterson. Members of PHMC, Ironstone, Mr. Pearson, and Mr. Patterson are all with us today and will be happy to discuss the plan for the property in more detail. The Department of Public Property supports this measure, and accordingly, I respectfully ask that City Council approve Bill Number 181044. I am also requesting a suspension of the rules to allow for first reading at the next session of Council. Thank you. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for your testimony. Before I recognize Councilman Dom, I think, let's get the elephant out of the room here. All right, this was a project that has been talked about, and the use has changed. All right, the end use has changed over the past several years. Whether we as a city or the previous administration thought that, the police administration
Talking to
building
the
was going to
mic,
go out there
Chairman.
and then in uniform. Oh, I'm sorry. Talking to the mic, hello. Okay, so the use of the previous administration was going to be the police admin building out there, and then a uniform call center, which I thought was not the proper use. Separate building, I understand, but all in the realm of, what a different vision, what a vision was to be like. And here we are now looking to provide much-needed services for a community that otherwise would not have on this scale and much needed. Can you explain, although we had to invest in a significant amount of capital to bring a building up to code that yet has otherwise been, and a property that has been vacant for, with a brief period of time, some use, vacant for 20 years. How you cannot value, all right, in a numeric way, the services, all right, that would be omitted if we don't move forward with making sure that PHMC and the Children's Hospital and University of Pennsylvania and the YWCA kind of thing, because I don't really think that, if you take a look at like an agreement sheet or numbers, that it really tells a story of what it's going to provide for the community.
Yeah, so I could speak on that a little bit, but I think you would get a much greater detail if you would listen to Mr. Pearson come up and explain what the development team, so there's 800 full-time jobs going to be created, social impact things, but I think he could speak to it much better if I could bring him up.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
And if you could state your name for the record,
Michael
and then
Pearson, Pearson.
And then just explain to everybody that, sometimes, although, we as a city and government make a significant investment, the services that otherwise that wouldn't be provided for a community in the city of Philadelphia, the value of that in a reuse of a property.
Well, I first want to thank City Council for allowing us to talk about the project. and I, on behalf of the rest of the partnership, would really want to say how excited we are to take a unique approach in providing a full-service campus for behavioral health, integrated with a message that is also about empowerment. We're very mindful, and with the help of Councilwoman Blackwell, we see that, yes, the service provided to those individual people is so important, but it's also important to make sure inclusion and providing an economic jolt into that zip code is part of this process. And we want to be inclusive with the community groups. In terms of the partners, we're looking to create close to 1,000 jobs in that area and provide those needed services to the point where one-stop shopping on behavioral health, where children and mothers are serviced at one location through those various partners. And in short, that's the scope of the project.
Okay. Chair will recognize Councilman Dunn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning. I have a couple of questions I wanted to, by the way, I'm in favor of the usage, and my comments are not really directed towards the usage. My comments are directed towards the what happened here, and 46th and Market and the Inquirer Building. And when I'm looking at the appraisal, which I got last night at 5:30, so I haven't had a ton of time to look at the appraisal, just got it last night. The other properties used as comparables, 42nd and Chestnut, 41st and Chestnut, 43rd and Market, and 42nd and Chestnut. The land prices range from $119 a foot to $582. We'll throw the $582 out, but typically they're $119 to about $280 a foot. How many acres is this property?
We're going to bring Tom Dalfo from PIDC up because PIDC is actually the group that actually headed up the appraisal.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, while they are coming forward, we would like to make sure that Mr. Pearson includes this request for jobs in our community meetings so that the community knows those who qualify and those for which you don't need specific qualifications are included in this job pool. Can we get him to say that on record?
We will make every effort to be as inclusive as possible and work with the councilwoman, with the appropriate groups to ensure that diversity, inclusion, and opportunity and livable wages are part of that package.
We want to call a meeting right away. Are you all available for that?
Yes, Councilwoman, we are.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Before you start, Chair would just like to recognize we are also joined by Councilwoman Sanchez.
I have a question too.
You have questions before? Now? You want to be recognized? Okay.
If he's finished.
No, he's not finished.
Okay.
Okay. Tom, you want to state your name for the record?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Tom Dalfo. I'm Senior Vice President for Real Estate Services at PIDC. We ran the marketing process for the city for this asset. Could you repeat your question?
How many acres is on that site in total?
The entire site is 13 acres.
And from what I recall from memory, it's $43,560 per acre, right?
Correct.
So it's about 566,000 square foot site.
I haven't done that.
So
math. I'll
here's
take
my
your word
point,
for it.
and I just wondered if we looked at this.
I have.
We have comps of land, just land alone, with other buildings, old buildings like this property on them, that range from $120 a foot to $280. I'm going to get rid of the $582. I think it's an outlier. This is selling at $17 a foot. And I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just telling you what's going on.
Yeah.
Have you looked at those comps?
I have looked at those comps, and I think, I'm not sure which appraisal you're looking at. There's two different
Page
ones.
157 of the Lynn and Associates appraisal.
Yeah, I don't have the appraisals in front of me. I have some elements from them. The two appraisals took a couple of different approaches to sort of get where they were in terms of the value. The Lynn approach, I think, reflects a site condition that changed during the process. So when we started this marketing process for the property, if you've seen the site plan for the site, there's two parking lots that have been carved out of it. They were built initially for the juvenile detention facility that was developed on 48th Street a number of years ago. When the process started, initially, we thought those parking lots were available for sale and would be able to be used by the development that would occur on 4601. During the process, we learned, because of bond covenants and restrictions related to the juvenile justice facility, that was not the case. So those areas needed to be carved out. And the Lynn proposal, I think, is looking at two things. The evaluation is looking at two things. A site that would be developed integrating those parking lots in. So some of the land values.
But the 13 acres doesn't include those two parking lots.
No, it does not include that.
Let's just stay with the 13 acres. All I'm saying is it's 566,000 square feet. We're selling it per foot land at $17 when the comparables show 120 to 280 a foot. That's my point.
I understand. I think there's factors that impact that tremendously, and I think that the numbers, the amount of land that's really available because of the carve out of those 2 acres is significantly reduced.
I mean, I guess this is like a bad dream for me every time we talk about 46th and Market and the Inquirer building, because I look at this site and say we have $52 million in this site. We're selling it for $10 million. We're going to lose $42 million on this transaction. I'm not saying this.
I understand.
I'm just saying, from past decisions, we're supposed to be stewards of the city's taxpayers' money. We're losing $42 million. We then negotiated a transaction on the Inquirer building that has in the document that this council negotiated financing fixed to be provided by the seller as a buy down, which means the seller has to probably write a check to provide the financing of 3.75 fixed for 19 years. We don't take that financing. We take 4.07 adjustable. Rates have already gone up 25%, and in the 9th year when we have to refinance, if the rates are 6 or 7, it will cost us another $200 million in financing because we didn't take 3.75 plus $50 million. And what upsets me is we're not making smart decisions. $250 million potential here on these two sites is a disaster for the city. That's what upsets me. I'm just venting because I'm so upset that we made these kinds of decisions. So I don't know that you have an answer. I'm upset about the comps, why we're selling it for $17 a foot, but you're telling me that's what the market is. When you had an appraisal 2 years ago that was $10,450,000, and now the appraisal came in at $10 million. Was the prior appraisal including the parking lots you're talking about?
It was, and it didn't. It was. Like I said, we had the asset was larger when we started the process, and I do think the impact of those parking lots is twofold. One, it's just sheer acreage that comes out. It's kind of the hole in the donut. It tremendously impacts how you redevelop that site. It carves it up into a series of sites that I think, candidly, the values for the land probably don't really reflect some of the impacts for that. And the valuation, I think, that was put forward is really dependent upon the successful reuse of the building. So I think the analysis and the comps are a little bit maybe not on point because of the separation, because this is really a campus, and if the plan, the value of the land is so dependent upon the success of the redevelopment of the larger building.
I'm not arguing the usage. I'm just saying in general, the decisions over the last few years will cost the city a lot of money. And when we have, you have articles coming out, including today's papers, how we're not moving the needle on poverty, and I'm looking at $250 million we just wasted. It's upsetting to me. Anyway, thank you for your testimony today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Sanchez.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Dom, for outlining that. And we all support conceptually the concept of a creation of behavioral health center, but I am very concerned about who is going to go in there, and the fact, to your point, Councilman Dom, that we're going to give a massive reduction. This campus is going to be built out, and then the providers that are going to go in there are going to be city-funded providers, and then we're going to pay rent. And so if in fact we are making accommodations for the purposes of getting out, because this may be better developed by a private developer, how will we ensure that when the providers go in there that are city funded, that is reflected in their rent?
May I speak to that? We have long-standing anchor tenants that are proposed for this building: CHOP, YMCA, PHMC, and Penn. They have more collectively, probably over 100 years of excellent partnership with the city and the ability to find rates that are appropriate for that real estate. While I'm speaking as a person involved in a partnership, I'm also speaking to folks that try to represent good faith effort, long-standing partnership with the city, and hopefully a continued relationship where our goodwill, ethics, and desire to serve the clients will be manifested in always looking at the financials and compensation in which we're funded by the city.
I appreciate your response to that and being responsible. I want the administration to answer that, because I'm very, very concerned, right? They need to build that out into your project. You're doing your due diligence as the private developer, right? You're in business. You provide a quality service. But I know for a fact that most of the providers that are going to go in there are going to be city funded, and we're going to be paying rent. So I'm not going to fault you for doing business, but I need some assurances from the administration that our waiver of a real value of a property is going to be reflected back. Because if PHMC, most of their money is city funded, right? The why we fund this, and how's that going to be reflected there? So the city administration needs to tell us.
So, Councilwoman, I'll be frank and honest. I am not up to speed on exactly how the city funds PHMC or some of these other providers. That is something we can certainly look into and talk to the city agencies that do provide those dollars and ensure that there are safeguards in place.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Chair recognizes Councilman Dunn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to join in with Councilwoman Sanchez. That should be in the, I'll give you an example. If they're paying $10 million and they're putting X amount in, we should know up front, if we're going to be the back tenants, what our rent is, and that should be built into the contract. Otherwise, we could wind up losing $42 million and then paying for the building in excess. That's another, it would be insane on our part. We need to know what the terms are going forward, so that has to be part of the transaction.
We will make sure that that's part of the conversation when we're negotiating the sales and development.
I mean, it might even be better for us not to sell the property and just lease it to them and control it.
So we actually did look into that, and it's not allowed under the bond covenant. We were told by bond counsel that in no uncertain terms, our only option here is to sell the building outright.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Out of the tenants that have been interested and are going to be moving in, or there's somebody who's moving in first, and what's the timeline? I mean, isn't there like CHOP, one of the tenants that are ready to move in as quickly as possible?
CHOP is represented, and they can better speak to their desire. Peter, would you like to speak towards your desire to move into the complex and the timeline?
Good morning. I'm Peter Grohlman with Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. Thank you for the opportunity to answer the question. Children's Hospital is really at a loss for additional space in these behavioral health services. Most of them are located in leased facilities in Market Street, in the Market Street corridor, and on our main campus as well. And they're not connected to one another, making it very difficult for families. So the sooner we can aggregate those services under one roof, the better it is for families and the more room that we will have on our main campus for other services.
So CHOP is, eager to move in, do some tenant fit out, and start providing services for the community and city?
Yes, we are.
Okay. We have any other questions for CHOP or anyone else that's testified? Well, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for your testimony. Is there anyone else here that wishes to speak on bill numbers 181044, 181045? The chair recognizes Councilman Dom.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question. Is there any idea or budget as to how much money is going to be invested into this building? The purchase is 10 million. Are you putting another 10 or 20 million in? Any idea?
The total project cost is closer to 70 million.
70 million. And
Yes,
so
yes.
you're going to want to rent, let's just be clear, that's going to give you a return of what kind of percentage?
I don't have the specifics to the financials in front of me, but I'm willing to have our partner, if you care to speak.
You may state your name for the record and proceed with your...
It's Andrew Eisenstein.
Good.
Councilman Dom,
Here's my question, Andrew. What type of return, I'm trying to figure out what the city's going to have to pay in rent. What type of return are you looking to achieve in this investment? Because we can back into what the rent is from that type of return.
so the city is not a proposed tenant right now for us. I mean, there may be some uses out there that I'm not aware of, but the key anchor tenants for us that we've been in long-term discussion with have been Children's Hospital. Mr. Grohlman was just up here speaking. University of Pennsylvania, probably their health system, Public Health Management Corporation, who's our partner in the project, and the YMCA proposing a children's child care facility. So we have not been in any specific discussions with the city about leasing space here.
And so so the city's not made a commitment on leasing any space?
No.
Okay. Is it planned to commit to leasing space?
I have had no discussions with the city about leasing space at this building.
And the current usage, does that preclude any real estate taxes being paid, or will real estate taxes be paid on this property?
Real estate taxes will be paid on this
Okay.
property.
Because I asked that question because I looked up on OPA. The value of this property is $100 million on OPA. Is that what the taxes will be based on?
We have to work with OPA to actually see if that's the actual real assessed value. We saw that too, it was 100 million. I'm not sure that that's accurate.
Right, I mean, because you have OPA saying it's worth 100 and we're selling it for 10. Okay, thank you, and good luck, Andrew. Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any further questions on bill number 181044?
I think that he wants to speak for the last one.
You
I'll try to
state
be-
your name for the record and...
My name is Jihad Ali. I'm a member of Southwest Philadelphia District Services. I'm a consultant for the Enterprise Center. I'm here today to give testimony about bill number 180144, I believe it is. My concerns are about some things that were just currently said. First of all, Councilman Dom, you are one of the most experienced real estate developers in this room, but I think you were wrong when you talked about that square footage, because this property is is a CMX3. It receives a 500% increase for FAR, floor area ratio, and it's also in a transportation-oriented district. It receives another 30%. When the developer went to one community group, Spruce Hill, he said that his total square footage was 3,500,000. That's his potential total build-out based on those FARs. So
Just to clarify, I'm talking land value only. I didn't talk about the building.
Okay.
I'm talking about 13 acres. It's 43,560 feet per acre. I didn't even value the building. Forget the building. I'm talking the land value.
Okay, all right, got you. So, and then the other thing was, if your appraisal said, so you didn't say did the appraisal give you an appraised price, or it just told you what their offer was?
The appraisal said it was worth 10 million. My argument isn't so much whether it's worth 10 million or not. My argument is on the city's behalf. We invested 52 million into this project, and we're selling it for $10 million. Then we made another purchase, which is going to cost us money. My argument is how we take care of the taxpayers' money. So I only have had this appraisal maybe 14 hours to look at, okay?
Right.
So all I could glean so far was the land value. I didn't get into the building. I didn't get into the fact that we put $48 million of improvements into this building, including architectural and mechanical. I didn't get into that. I'm talking just land value. Very simple analysis.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman. One thing I wanted to talk about was this process that Ms. Greenwald said was a fair process. I'm not sure if that's the case, because we've heard rumors from, there were several developers that applied for this project, and we've heard rumors that people from the public property might have been agents of the PHMC. Also, in addition, we were told that I didn't know the gentleman, Mr. Pearson, but I have met him in the meantime, and I want to thank him for his service. I know he's a veteran officer from the Army, and I myself am a former Marine, so thank you for your service. But I think that the issue is when he comes in front of the community group, my group, Southwest Philadelphia District Services, we had a dealing with Ironstone maybe 4 years ago. Ironstone at the time, Mr. Pearson wasn't a part of that. So when they come today and they're trying to get this asset, 13 acres from the city, and they tell us that they have a minority developer, we just want to be certain to what extent is that developer. You had 13 hours to look at something. We haven't had any information. We haven't had any community meetings. So we really want to know to what extent, if they tell us that there's some people of color involved in this, in the ownership of this, we want to make sure what is it and to what extent, and is it for all phases of the development? We don't want to be short-sighted like we've been in the past on deals like the Comcast deal that was way before, some of you may remember. We thought we were going to have an ownership interest in a cable company. That didn't play out for us. So I think those questions need to be answered. In regards to your regulations, I didn't make any regulations down here. There was a regulation that when anything comes in front of this committee, an EOP plan is to be attached to it. Not anecdotally saying, oh, we support that. They should have it today. But I will agree with the councilwoman as long as we get it, because the EOP plan will give us the things that we want. I'm like you, Councilman. I support the uses. I support the University of Penn. I support the Penn Medical. They do great things for kids. I support the need that people that have mental illness need help. I support that. I'm like you. If we're going to do something, let's make everybody a winner. Now, when you ask the question, why couldn't somebody else buy it, you buy it. Okay, if you can't buy it, why can't we get the University of Penn or Penn Medical to buy it and then lease it to these guys? Why, if we're going to have something that benefits us all forever, why not be the universities and tie some stuff like our scholarships into that? So those are the things that I like to talk about. I know that the councilwoman has the other issues to address, and I'd like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk.
Thank you for your testimony and joining us here today. Chair recognizes Public Property Commissioner Ms.
I just wanted to go on the record real quick that the proposal that Ironstone did propose did include an EOP. So there are numbers and figures for the minority participation and whatnot. So that is actually in there, and we can share it with them.
And I would like to add, just as a minority business owner, for more than 25 years of experience. And yes, thank you for recognizing my service, but service is more than what I did in the military. It's been an advocate for minority business and job creation for 25 years. I've put up personal guarantees. I've put all the things forward to know what equity partnership is. And I respectfully like to say that this deal is based on partnering and not tokenism.
Wonderful. Thank you. Is there anybody here would still like to have any kind of public comment or a question on Bill number 181044? With that being said, we will move on to our next bill. Thank you for your testimony. Anyone for the administration that wishes to testify on Bill number 181045, please approach. Madam Commissioner, state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Sure. Good morning, Councilman Heenan and members of the Committee on Public Property and Public Works. My name is Bridget Collins Greenwald, Commissioner of Public Property, and I'm here to testify in favor of Bill number 181045, releasing a restriction contained in a 1951 agreement between the City and the School District of Philadelphia related to the conveyance of 3120 Ryan Avenue from the City to the School District. The restriction in that agreement only allows the school district to build a recreation center or an athletic field on the property. Based on discussions with the school district and their current needs in that area, we believe that releasing the restrictions and allowing the use of land for either recreation or school purposes is in everyone's best interest. The Department of Public Property supports this measure, and accordingly, I respectfully ask that City Council approve Bill Number 181045. I am requesting a suspension of the rules so as to allow for the first reading at the next session of council. Thank you. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Anyone on the committee wish to ask any questions on Bill Number 181045? Before I have, a statement or two on this bill. This is a piece of legislation that is in my district that's going to have a significant impact on the education of our kids in a part of the city that is growing in population, not only growing in population with adults, but children, and anticipating, the future growth with a diverse culture and communities that really represent what Philadelphia is about, and this is a step moving forward. All right, but it's grown so much that sometimes in the quick spurt of growth and families moving into the neighborhood, sometimes we forget what happened in the past. All right, and I know the school district, I'm going to state for the record, has made some commitments to the community and my office in some issues that still need and remain to be addressed when it comes to making sure that the quality of life of our communities are not as impacted and as open to the community as possible, such as the pools and fencings, and the possibility of enlarging this opportunity for 21st century teaching and innovative methods, and giving people opportunities for success in careers and graduation rates and pre-K, that we take an advantage of looking at the larger picture, not just the immediate type of relief that we're trying to provide here today. And that is, utilizing a education campus, right, that essentially what we will have with public schools, not private schools, a public school campus, which this will be right in the middle of a community, having community access, having athletic fields and open public space, but sitting down with Parks and Rec and figuring out if now should be the time to start conversations about making it into a super site where we can share and leverage resources and share the opportunities that will not just, temporarily fill a void and a overcrowded situation, but prepare for the future, like the real future, making sure that this is an incredible vision, all right, that not just our school district, but our Parks and Rec in the city of Philadelphia with my office sees for the future, all right, because they deserve it, and I'm going to keep pushing for it, and I want to let the school district know, all right, that this is extremely important to me and to all the parents and everybody who utilizes these athletic fields, who utilizes the permanent use of the basketball courts and the tracks and the public pools. So I think it is extremely important to take and short-sighted if we just look at this as just one hurdle of governance as an obstacle, all right, but look at it as an opportunity to really set the path for a vision for the next 30 to 50 years. And I wanted to state that for the record, and I want to thank you for your cooperation with this. Any other members have any questions on this bill, 181045? Anyone in the here joining us today in the chamber wishes to speak on bill number 181045? That being none, thank you so much. This will conclude our public hearing on the city committee. Yeah, we only need on the City Council Committee of Public Property and Public Works. We will now enter into our public meeting on the Committee of Public Property and Public Works, and the chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that bill numbers 181045 181-044 and 181-045 be voted out of this committee with a favorable recommendation, and I move further, the rules of council be suspended as to permit first reading of said bills at our next session of council.
It has been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Bill numbers 181-044, 181-045 will be reported out of this committee with a favorable recommendation as to be heard at our next council session. I want to thank you all for joining us here. This concludes the Public Property and Public Works Committee.